This is the story of how Tatsumaki took on the strongest monsters in One Punch Man by herself. Webcomic Tatsumaki doesn't have any of the plot armor Murata gives her in the manga. Instead of being a cover model tsundere, this version of Tatsumaki is a psychic psychopath who is just as foolish as everyone else. The danger levels are way crazier, and the monsters are even scarier. The heroes are doing worse than ever, while Garo keeps getting stronger and stronger. When the Hero Association first began, heroes were only ranked A, B, and C class. Many other things like helpfulness, rescues, and popularity all play a role in deciding a hero's rank. Simply being strong is not enough to make someone an A-class hero. Their behavior and achievements are just as important. A hero like Moomin Rider treated a balloon stuck in a tree as seriously as anything else. For more than 6 months after being established, the Hero Association's ranks experienced weekly changes. This was called a violent war of justice. And at the time, the future A-class hero, Lightning Max, decided that he wanted a finishing move. But eventually, the association encountered disaster-level demon monsters. Monsters able to defeat heroes who were consistently among the upper ranks. And around the same time, they encountered heroes who were strong enough to beat them by their lonesome. At the time, Metal Bat was still C-class, ranked 223. These sorts of heroes did not align with their rankings at all. Whenever a task was offered, they'd show up at their own pace when all the other heroes were beaten. And alone, they fought and won. Watchdog Man did just that back when he was C-class, ranked 301. They tended to be steady in their heroic activities. Yet even after their many achievements, they were still hidden below the upper ranks. Darkshine was so busy working out all the time that he was C-class, ranked 383, which was the lowest ranking. The Hero Association did not want to miss out on exceptional talent because of this, so they made some changes. They created a specialized group that focused on combat ability. Each hero would be considered to be on the same level as an emergency division of the army. This was the creation of the S-class heroes. And at the time, Bang was B-class, ranked 77, and Garo was still early in his training. Despite all this, most heroes aim to become A-class heroes instead of S-class ones. The general consensus is that S-class is insane. They're said to be beings who don't waver no matter what they might face. Which brings us to the current state of our S-class heroes. Pig God, the rank 10 S-class hero, was bleeding between the massive teeth of gums. Black S was holding Atomic Samurai, the rank 4 S-class hero, up by his hair. This was punishment for the swordsman looking down on him. That trick with the ceiling did not work. Zombie Man, the rank 4 S-class hero, had a massive hole through his charred body, and Homeless Emperor, the man responsible, was there to mock him. Child Emperor had been cut across the cheek and was really sweating against evil natural water. He needed to prove his intelligence and find a solution. But his sugar levels were running dangerously low. Puri Puri Prisoner was still recovering from his encounter with Garo, but he would be able to walk again soon. Sweet Mask might not be an S-class hero, but without question, he is strong enough to be on that level. Yeah, he was freaking out and begging for his hideous opponent to stay far away from him. The other top A-class heroes were in a similarly bad situation. People often refer to S-class heroes as monsters. And with this raid, the Hero Association was faced by a real group of monsters. But the association has no idea that this is the first time, since they still think that they're the ones who handle the dark matter thieves. Saitama's indifferent about what he's done, so his feats are totally unknown. But before the alien invasion, the whole reason Sitch had that S-class meeting was to prepare them for unprecedented danger based on Shiba Bao's prophecy. Regardless, there was a reason why he was confident that the raid would work. The Tornado of Terror, Tatsumaki, was among them. It's said that nothing in the world could ever hope to beat her in a frontal assault. Despite being the #1 hero, Tatsumaki is considered to be the Hero Association's final weapon. But her opponent today was a bit different. Psychos' approach was anything but direct. She avoided Tatsumaki's attacks from the moment they met. It turns out that what Tatsumaki removed from the monster was just a lump of flesh. The hero dropped the molded mound. Her enemy was just pretending to be cornered, and Tatsumaki felt insulted. Meanwhile, Saikos reflected on Tatsumaki's ability to shred her durable form with telekinesis, not to mention ripping out her buried meat puppet that was meant to make her control easier. Now she understood why Fubuki called her sister a monster among monsters. If any of the other heroes were anywhere close to Tatsumaki's power level, then the death of many monsters was assured. But deeper below, the evil Esper was sure that if she could meet up with the other disaster-level dragon monsters, that even Tatsumaki wouldn't stand a chance. She was 1,500 meters underground and would be able to give out orders from there. Conveniently, not even the other monsters knew the location of her real body. Saikos believes that a real leader does not need to be revealed. Regardless, the entire world would fear its new unseen ruler. She wants the name Saikos to be synonymous with fear for the rest of history. And that all begins with the death of Tatsumaki, who is now looking down. Now pointing down, the tornado of terror had found her mark. Zombie Man, Atomic Samurai, and Pig God were all on the verge of death. But none of them were ready to die today. Evil Natural Water was unyielding. Child Emperor was forced to flee as his backpack was destroyed. For the first time in ages, fear slowly returned to many of the S-Class heroes. But there was one man who was prepared to fight even at the cost of his own life. Super Alloy Darkshine. He found the hero hunter Garo, and it was on sight. Darkshine swung first. Garo dodged while his heel met the side of Darkshine's head. The force was tremendous. Darkshine was slammed onto the ground with his arm still extended. The hero was stunned by sheer shock and disbelief. Garo recognized him and mentioned his name. Darkshine leapt and spun before regaining his footing. Garo decided that if he can beat this guy, then it would prove that his attacks can work on anyone. Darkshine complimented the blow and the incredibly refined muscles behind it. He claimed that it would be a waste to let talent like that be used by monsters. He tried to get Garo to join the heroes by mentioning how great their gyms are. Garo let him know that both groups would be destroyed on this very night, so it hardly mattered. With a smirk on his face, Darkshine accepted that he'd just need to stop Garo here and now then. He flexed and forced his muscles to ripple that much more. The ground splintered as he moved. Garo quickly began to sweat. There was a hulking mass rocketing towards him. If he took this hit, death would be a guarantee. But he wasn't so sure he could repel it. He tried and failed. The hero's attacks broke through his defenses like a paper towel in a storm. It was just a simple tackle, but it had so much strength behind it that the water stream rock smashing fist didn't stand a chance against it. Garo's entire ribcage was shattered, blood spilled, and his eyes lulled. Garo was sent through several feet of concrete and metal as Darkshine skidded to a halt. He told the hunter that his game of pretending to be a monster was over. This wasn't the first time Darkshine faced a technique. After convincing Bang to fight him, Darkshine didn't take any major damage, but he couldn't touch the old man and hit the ground too many times to count. And based on that experience, he could tell that Garo's technique was still far from perfect. He wasn't sure why Garo held so much hatred towards heroes, but told the guy that he should know his place. According to him, Garo only survived as long as he did due to sheer luck. Atomic Samurai, Tatsumaki, Flashy Flash, or King would have ended him in an instant. But the only thing Garo focused on was Darkshine's mention of him pretending to be a monster. A ruined Garo emerged from the wreckage with a sinister smile. He stumbled his way forward. He questioned if Darkshine wasn't just playing hero himself. The hypocrisy of it all was enough to make Garo's stomach turn. He sought to confirm that the man's actions supposedly abided by justice and punishes evil. That as long as you're doing the right thing, you can gain incredible power. Darkshine was confused. Garo acknowledged the power of it. People perpetuating violence without regret or guilt could beat just about anyone. And if needed, they could discard all that kindness just as easily. To Garo, the heroes were utter filth being supported by a society of trash. He refused to lose to something like that. Darkshine prepared himself. unnerved by the fact that the hero hunter could still move after such a lethal injury. Now surging with fury, Garo decided that he would destroy this false justice even if it killed him. Darkshine would not hold him back. Elsewhere, Genos planned to distract a monster from the front. He wanted Fubuki to cover him while Bang and Bomb attacked from the sides. It seemed like the monster had already been damaged. Bomb realized that this would be the best time to take it down. This was Fubuki's first time facing a monster on this level. They needed to stop it from making it to the surface at all costs. Assuming that this must be the Monster Association's strongest monster, Bang told his brother to be ready, and Bomb was right there with him. They both leapt to opposite sides of Overgrown Rover as the monster roared. Genos began charging up a beam while Rover launched several of his own. The attacks were so devastating that Genos was surprised to still be alive. If Fubuki hadn't blocked the attack, Genos would have been completely destroyed. But she was past her limits and wouldn't be able to do that again. Combining their techniques, the brothers used the Cross-Fang Dragon Slayer Fist. Rover was assaulted from both sides, and Genos recognized the attack from their fight against Garo. Only this time, it was even stronger. So the fight was as good as over. But something was wrong. The dog monster wasn't going down at all. Annoyed, Bang wondered if the mutt couldn't just be quiet and sit. And remembering his encounter with Saitama, Rover began to whimper. Then he did as instructed and sat down. In the manga version, Genos was not involved in this fight. At the same time, Darkshine was defending himself against a seemingly endless stream of blows. But thanks to his muscles, Darkshine wasn't too worried. Once Garo's attack was done, Darkshine planned to take charge and end things in one blow. But he couldn't help but feel like Garo's movements were getting faster. Darkshine's chance never came. The attacks wouldn't stop. He was disturbed by Garo's increasing speed. Was the man even breathing? It was like being jumped by dozens of martial artists at once. These attacks were more like tidal waves. Unexpectedly, the concept of losing came to the hero's mind. But the thought of failing in hand-to-hand combat was incomprehensible to him. After all, his muscles were specifically trained, unlike Puri Puri Prisoner and Tank Top Masters. Garo kept attacking. He was using Bang's technique on his left side and Bomb's technique on his right side. And he would use their Dragon Slayer combo to destroy the Musclehead. Garo is a martial arts genius who could use the technique on his own, which was usually impossible. But he's picked up many unexpected moves thanks to his hero and dojo hunting. Garo was at his best when backed into a corner by a stronger opponent. Seeing that the attacks wouldn't end, Darkshine decided to go all out. Darkshine lunged with all his might, but Garo was unwavering. Darkshine's fist met flesh and was rippling with force, but Garo caught it, and his limiter seemed to be breaking. Somewhere else, the King engine was roaring. He remembered Genos suggesting that they split into two teams. Normally, 5 people splitting up would result in a team of 3 and a team of 2. But since King's so strong, the 4 of them left him alone. Sweating, King assured himself that Saitama and Tatsumaki would deal with all the enemies. So all he needed to do was hide his presence. First, he tried to be like a cloud, but that was a little too noble, so he decided to be like a microbe just minding its own business. Then he heard a voice call his name. King's eyes went wide with panic. He looked over his shoulder and saw the hostage Tadeo. And throughout the facility, there was a lot of rumbling. Saitama wanted to know what the sound was, and Flashy Flash thought it might be another monster underground. In truth, this was because Tatsumaki was in the process of unearthing the Monster Association's leader. The true Psychos was revealed, and she was pissed. The disaster-level Dragon Esper roared in acceptance. After all, she was too far away to be forced up by Tatsumaki. But unbelievably, Psychos was suddenly restrained. This was way too easy for Tatsumaki. She was just fishing up a weakling with nowhere to run, which made her smile with wicked glee. Everyone in the complex felt and saw her power at work. Fubuki started freaking out when she recognized her sister's power. And something strange was happening to Bomb. For some reason, Bomb was floating in the air. As his hair went up, Genos realized that the gravitation was being pointed upwards. Then Tatsumaki upped the intensity. All 4 of them were lifted before they knew it. Fubuki realized that her monster of a sister was planning on dragging the entire facility up to the surface. Even Garo was wondering what was going on. He tried to ask the Musclehead if he had any idea, but the hero wouldn't respond. Darkshine was defeated. Garo saw him as a roadblock that he has now surpassed. At this point, Tatsumaki was in total control of the board. The hideout sprung from the ground and loomed over Z City. Black S looked up, recognizing their most troublesome opponent. Another cell questioned if she had any concept of friendly fire at all, while another complained about Psychos failing to deal with annoying espers like the fat monster promised. But because Tatsumaki is so strong, the various disaster level dragons decided to gang up on her. Tatsumaki figured that if the other S-Class could be killed just by her moving them, then they never deserved to call themselves heroes in the first place. Either way, she planned on destroying all the monsters by her lonesome. And according to her, King was the only one doing a proper job. Since the moment he detected her psychic wave, he saved and protected the hostage, which was to be expected from a man who's been through hell. But Tatsumaki refused to let him steal the show here. She told him to stay put and protect the child. King smirked. That sure was a nice way for her to put it. By now, the King engine was roaring like crazy. So Tadeo was a bit nervous knowing how close he was to the hero in the midst of his bloodlust. At the same time, Puri Puri Prisoner found himself buried by the rubble. So although he managed to recover, he was still trapped underground. Child Emperor gave each of the heroes a transmitter to hide in their clothes before entering. Prisoner's clothes were ruined, so it's a good thing he hid it in his secret stash. As long as he has his transmitter, he would be found. But Prisoner was worried about anyone who might be gravely injured and now buried. Since he could move, he decided that he should help them, and the transmitter would show him where to go. After flashing a big smile, Prisoner swam through the debris with Angel Crawl, which was surprisingly effective. Back to the new arrivals, Fubuki was sweating. She told the others that her older sister was probably responsible for this. Now Bang was confused. If Fubuki is the younger sister, then how old is Tatsumaki? Genos was annoyed and wondered what the brat was thinking. He raised a hand to the ceiling, but Fubuki stopped him. It wasn't a good idea for them to go to the surface right now. She explained that Tatsumaki just entered full battle mode, which could only mean that she was facing a bunch of monsters that they could not handle head on. They'd just be in the way. Genos wasn't a fan of all her "we talk." He reminded the Esper that he's not a member of the Fubuki group. Bang told him to calm down. Bomb added that since they're late to the show, they don't know the full situation. He believed that caution was the way to go. Genos apologized, but he's not a member of their dojos either. He was going to the surface no matter what, because Demon Cyborg is Kate Baldy's, Saitama's disciple. He blew straight through the rubble and emerged right after. And what he saw on the surface was sheer madness. A giant monster made of liquid, too many dark figures to count, and dozens of light spears in the sky. Evil Natural Water's eyes shifted. The monster shot a beam attack upwards. Tatsumaki saw that the monster's main weapon was a high-pressure jet of water. She redirected the comparatively weak attack with ease. Suddenly, there were several spears of light racing towards her, and they all managed to hit the mark. Homeless Emperor apologized. He was testing his full power and didn't intend to kill her so soon. But Tatsumaki was protected by her barrier. Now she acknowledged how badly the monsters wanted to die. They couldn't believe she was unharmed. And now, Black S could only expect some serious psychic power from her. Gums remained still, while Führer Ugly was eager. Tatsumaki expected to only need 10 seconds to wipe them all out. But just then, Genos yelled that something was above her. Focus Psychos loomed over the unsuspecting Esper. She knew that when a psychic focuses on attack, their defenses are at their weakest. She was waiting for this all along, and Tatsumaki created the exact situation that she wanted. Psychos began her revenge by binding Tatsumaki. She forced the Esper to crash into the ground. But while Tatsumaki was still alive, she was bleeding from her mouth and had a head injury. Psychos' work was complete. When the brain suffers damage, an Esper temporarily loses their psychic power. This was their only chance to kill her, so Psychos commanded the monsters to attack. A huge fist crashed into Tatsumaki's face. Pure Ugly's face-crushing punch sent her hurtling back. Tatsumaki was young, skillful, and at the center of attention, while Ugly was always weak and felt inferior to others. He wanted to show her something more fun than psychic powers. His natural ugliness twisted his mind in favor of terrible violence. Tatsumaki's eyes were wide, but her ordeal was only just getting started. The arm of Black S began to expand. He caught the hero and mocked her for believing she could win on her own. The cells weren't happy about being looked down on and wondered what they should do. With a demented grin, the monster realized that Tatsumaki was still protecting herself with a bit of weak psychic power. But what would happen if he squeezed really hard? Genos incinerated the freak before he could get the chance. He shouted at the leaders of the Monster Association. He planned to eliminate them all, here and now. But Gums was chewing on his arm before he knew it. Then Black S snatched his other arm and told the cyborg to wait his turn. Tatsumaki gritted her teeth. Her powers were unstable. Psychos hadn't expected the heroes to thin their numbers by this much. But it's a good thing they decided to attack today. By hastily forming their groups, dangers like Blast and Metal Knight were not involved. She mocked the Hero Association for placing so much faith in just Tatsumaki. Nearby, Genos cursed his own weakness. This was his fault for giving up on his human body and only focusing on artificial enhancements. Tatsumaki didn't expect to see him. Genos reminded himself that he's supposed to be the cyborg of justice. He's supposed to be getting stronger so he can have his revenge against Mad Cyborg for destroying his hometown and family. But no matter how hard he tried, Genos would not be able to change this situation. Tatsumaki knew it too, and told him to forget about her and leave. Then she was moved against her will and hurled into a huge chunk of rubble. Tatsumaki was in bad shape and it was only getting worse. Psychos made her dance like a ragdoll puppet. She knows that people who never fail are especially frail when they finally take a hit. And Tatsumaki could just barely speak in her mangled state. Black S never expected Psychos to actually be a woman. Ugly was impressed. Then he took a mean hit to the face. He peered at the source. Genos kicked him. The plan was to knock the guy's head off, but he was a bit too tough. Now Ugly was pissed and decided to focus on Genos instead. That's when his body began to hideously contort and change. Genos could tell that the monster was manipulating and forcing his cells to mutate. Ugly wondered how long the hero would be able to stay calm. Führer Ugly was towering in his new form. He asked Genos if he ever broke his gaming console as a kid. From that experience, he knows that curiosity and destruction are always a cruel combination. Ugly hoped that Genos' brain was still human, and planned on checking for himself. But then the monster was hit several times. It was Bang. Fubuki felt Tatsumaki's power vanish, so they assumed the fighting was over. Even though he didn't sense Garo among them, Bang could tell that each of the monsters was incredibly dangerous based on their killing intent alone. The elderly hero was ashamed of himself for leaving this all up to Tatsumaki, so he'd take responsibility for his bad call by defeating the monsters. Genos was sure that going in alone would just get Silver Fang killed, but Bomb wasn't so sure about that. He warned the young hero not to underestimate his brother, because beneath that kind elderly face is a dangerous man who is really bad at holding back. Bang always does his best to avoid killing his opponents. The reason he called his brother Bomb to help him hunt Garo was because he might have killed the kid if he did it alone. In an instant, Bang blew straight through Ugly's body. He emerged on the opposite side of the massive crater. When Ugly fell, Bang moved. Gums attacked him next. Bang sidestepped and split the monster's head. Balls of light began raining down, but Bang sidestepped them too. Homeless Emperor continued to guide his attacks. Bang shoved himself elsewhere and tore through the entire horde of Black S cells. The master was ready to kill anything that moved. But unfortunately, he himself couldn't move as the gravity around him intensified. Psychos managed to stop his rampage and insisted that the other monsters kill him while they still could. Homeless Emperor did not miss the chance. Bang looked over his shoulder at what was to come. He tried to call time out, but it was no use. The old hero was pelted by the attack. Genos asked Bomb if they should just keep watching. Bomb apologized. He didn't expect things to turn out like this. Then he was struck from behind. Genos turned and saw him fall. He thought Bang destroyed them all, but the Black SLs were still around. Tatsumaki's sister Fubuki entered the fray next, and was surprised to see her old friend Psychos among the enemies. Without Tatsumaki, who will be able to stop the disaster-level dragons? Next time, it's King versus everyone.